noodle for one thing, so I couldn't live stream live unless I did that, so forth. So we got maybe half the class here today. Bailey, Caitlin Bailey, Cody and Clay. Monica. You're here, it's the first day out, huh? Kayla's here. George is here. Gary Fringe, not. Layton's here. Brianna. Good. Brianna, I hope I'm answering your questions.
You did.
Not I'm trying to answer in class. Let's see. Tina is not here. I tell her. Adam. Mason. Mason is here. He just walked in. But Mason is taking finance at Dr. Sneed right now. He'll be in here once in a while, and he'll be in Dr. Sneed's class. He's taking two at the same period. Samuel, Mark, Anna, Maya, Haley, so here, one somewhere. Zachary, Tanner. Over here. Oh, Tanner, you're here. Got one here. Stephen. Antonio, he never did come back, did he?
He's not going to be.
Is he in class?
Something happened yesterday.
Yeah, I know. You play basketball?
Yes, sir.
Do. And this Ty is younger. I called him. No, I texted him. Emailed him or something. He's in Florida. He said he's not in any classes up here. Down in Florida somewhere. But what happened? Antonio, another young man that's going to be in this place, he just had today, were basketball players. And one of their players, about 24, I guess a senior, died over the weekend of a heart attack. So, had a young man in my first period class, kind of friends, he was upset, couldn't stay. So, go, you know. So, play basketball as a team, they're pretty close, and get to know one another pretty well. And I can see why they're upset, anyhow. Okay. Even Antonio, he can be upset too. He acts like he can't be.
He's still in his class, though. He said he's only missed something else.
Yeah, okay. All right, that brings us up to date with attendance. But please, if you're out there, text me if you're watching class, if you have a question. Email me if you have a question. A lot of you have been concerned over homework, when it's due and what's due and so forth. I have not taken up anything yet. Nothing has been due yet, okay? But it's coming a time. And I did make some assignments a week ago. I haven't seen you in a week. Now, I don't know if that video worked or not. I didn't get it tested. Did that video work that I posted, which was from the Bluefield State Video Center, not live streaming? Anybody get to watch that? Your password was dead? Yeah, I guess you have to have a password to get into those things, so you have to call and get reset. So that'll be okay. We'll try to repeat everything. Of course, I got back from Detroit last night, and a lot of construction. One interstate was closed down and had to be rerouted and all that stuff, so it took longer to get back than normal. I went to a wedding up there. My great nephew got married, and it was a little German town. Mostly German people started, built a motel, and this little town's called Franklin. And probably a couple of hours from Detroit. It's out in the country, beautiful place. And the little town itself is Christmas, 365 days a year. And Christmas shops and stores and so on. But the motel I stayed in that one night was owned by German people. And of course, the wedding was at the motel, and you can guess on the wedding dinner they had sauerkraut and wieners as one of the one of the meats. So, but anyway, then the wedding, then I had family reunion. I guess saw about 37 of my relatives up there. Had sisters and nieces and nephews, and great nieces and nephews, new baby, and just a whole lot of things was going on. But anyway, it was a good trip. But I felt like we got a little bit behind, me being gone a day. I've been blessed. I've taught a lot of years, and I taught in the public schools, and they gave you 10 sick day leaves a year. And when I left the public schools, I lost all those sick days. I think I had taken 2. I think I missed 2 days in those 10 years. I lost all those other. They give you 3 personal days, 10 sick days. I didn't use any of them. Okay. That was my first 10 years. I was at the community college 31 years. And there, my sick days accumulated, and I traded in a bunch of them for an extra year of retirement. And then what sick days I had left, they paid me so much a day up to so many days. And so I think I got $5,000 for some of those sick day leaves. Okay. And anyway, I lost probably about 100 there. So my wife had cancer for 13 years, and I think I missed 3 or 4 days, sick day leaves because of that. I used to have to take her every Friday to Winston-Salem, to Bowman Gray Hospital for chemo. So I have to miss on Fridays and Mondays. However, most of those Fridays and Mondays, it snowed and classes were canceled at community college. I didn't have to miss any sick day leaves. So, but anyway, when she's in the local hospital, I would stay all night with her in the local hospital, run home, get ready, and go to class. And after class, I'd go back to the local hospital. So I didn't miss any sick day leave. And up here, this might be the second day I have taken off up here in 9 years. So it's a lot of years. And like I say, I've been blessed not to have to take a lot of sick days or miss a lot, but you never know. Things change with everybody, like that young man that dropped dead of a heart attack in less than 24. Okay. Now, what was your assignments for today? Chapter 2. Now, I know I want you to do the Excel problem, correct? All right. Now, in chapter 2, that Excel problem, does anybody have any trouble with it? Now, I will take up that Excel problem if you have.
I sent it on your email.
I got that on my email. Okay. All right. The Excel problem is a must. If you don't have it today, I'll give you till Thursday to hand it in. Okay. So all you folks online, I hope that answers your question. Now, on the Excel problems, what did you have to do here? You had to do some predetermined overhead rates. Now, there is probably a link in this book. If you can't find it, I'll find it for you. As a student, we're not using Connect. We could use Connect, and it would go in and give you all these templates and everything. I still believe as a student, you can get on there and get student PowerPoints and get Excel templates. I'll see if I can find that link for you. Okay. But on your Excel problem, you just got Excel on your computer, right? You have to do any formulas or anything. You have to set up your formulas. Okay. But everybody can do that, I hope. That's some kind of Excel. All right. I think that was all just predetermined overhead rates pretty much. Right?
Here's how I bring the miles up 40.
What?
Next, they do like 4 different things. So I just did a mile.
Right, okay.
I already out here for you, like to see it.
Okay, does anybody else have their Excel? Just 2, 3?
You have to fill in everything from step. Follow directions from 1 to 2, which is 1, 2, 3, 4, which are fast.
All right, Excel. Okay, now let's see, who came in late? Antonio? What's your last name? Clay? Cody's?
Yeah.
I must know you'll be here, I didn't mark you yet. What's your last name? Sorry about your.
I'm coaching you on Thursday. No, not this past Thursday, before that, this.
Oh, yeah.
I know you had to go to the fundraiser. I don't know if you mentioned about it.
You won't be in this last one, it's first Tuesday. Yeah, go ahead. All right. That was my other. Okay, it'll work out. All right, textbooks, I hope everybody has their textbook, okay? Now, look at that Excel problem, what page is that on in chapter 2?
84.
Page 84. Now, if you have solutions on Moodle, which you do, I don't know which one I've got tagged down here. I've got so many things on here this morning I haven't got to.
You work out, you open it there.
Well, I've got PowerPoint on there, but trying to see if maybe this is it. Yeah. I'm trying to see if this, no, that's accounting principles. I've got the PowerPoint. There it is. Okay. I knew I had it at the bottom. All right. But anyway, chapter 2, we know what it's about, but I wanted to show you that Excel problem. Okay. But you're putting it in Excel, but you do have a way to check it, is what I'm trying to tell you, okay? That's Excel problem on page 84 at the bottom, correct? And it says you can use Connect, and we're not using Connect. That would have cost you more money. That's never happened before. Hope that delayed reaction quits. Okay, but anyway, on page 85, you did have a lot of data with the machine hours and so forth, and you had a cost summary. And step 1, that's ridiculous. I don't know how to correct that. That's something for computer science department over here to decide. So, but anyway, I don't even know how it's coming in with live streaming. Maybe they hear everything twice. Who knows? But requirement here was check your worksheet by changing the total fixed manufacturing overhead cost for the milling department. And 2, change the total fixed manufacturing overhead cost for the milling department. And 3, and Kaylee, you were supposed to do all 4. Somebody said they did. Okay, what happens to the selling price for job 408? And 4, restore the total number of machine hours. So you did have to plug in and change things and redo. All right, somebody find the volume on this thing. Go find the volume back there. There is a volume button, I don't know where, but we gotta turn the volume off these things. I've got the volume total off on this here. All right. Find the volume, turn it totally off, volume total off. Let's see if that helps. I don't want you all to have an echo, and I hope it's still recording. See if that helps. I don't want you all to have an echo. I hope it's still recording. This one, I don't know if volume's working or not. That might work. But that's ridiculous. It's still echoing through one or all of them. It was the volume off. Never had this before. Okay, anyway, check your Excel problem before you turn it in, okay? Okay, that's your Excel problem. Please turn it in first, okay? And we'll try to make it with this echo, and I just see if I keep talking, it's not echoing until I stop. So that's strange too. Okay. What other problems were due, Kayla, on this chapter?
We did problem 16, 17, 19, and 20.
All right. We'll live with it. Okay, 16 is on page 92, and it says, assume that this company has historically used a plant-wide predetermined overhead rate. All right, compute the plant-wide predetermined overhead rate, compute the total factory overhead cost, and if Landon uses a markup percent off. Now, this was an easy problem that we did some in class just like. Okay. You have an answer to that first one, Cody? All right. All right, Kayla, do you have an answer to that first one on 16? The plant-wide overhead rate.
114.
Did you get 760 an hour, Kayla? Okay, I thought that's what you said, but I wasn't sure. But anyway, all you had to do is take an estimated manufacturing overhead. Now here you're adding in your variable overhead, $2 times 140. So your total overhead has to include variable and fixed. Now the predetermined overhead rate computed as follows: your total overhead divided by your estimated direct labor hours gives you 760. Now that's pretty easy to calculate, okay? All right, Georgie, did you get the second answer?
Yeah.
What was the cost for that job, Georgie?
514.
All right. I know that two people got their homework, okay? Direct materials, they give you, direct labor, they give you, you take your 760 times your 15 hours, 114, that's 514, okay? So these are not hard problems. All right, see, if they use a markup of 200% of its total manufacturing cost, well, now, first off, anybody can multiply this by 2. 200% is 2. That should be 1,028, maybe. All right, if you mark it up 1,028, add that to your cost, and you're selling it for $1,542. Okay, that's 3 times your cost. Okay. All right, number 2, assume that the controller believes that machine hours is a better allocation. Compute the plate wide predetermined overhead rate based on machine hours. All right, Gary's not here. Clayton, did you have that one?
I did homework, but I didn't finish 16.
You sent it to me?
No. I didn't do number 16 because
Oh,
we did
okay.
in class, but I did 17.
All right, Brianna, how about you? Do you have that answer?
Which one is it? I can't hear you very good.
Oh, okay. Well, I'm talking twice. You ought to hear me once. All right. Even if I turn these TVs off, I think it'll probably still come through. Oh. I think. It don't seem like it's coming through this. All right, which one does it sound like it's coming through? All of them? Oh, it's coming up here. Right, so. Turn those off. I would turn them off except this one. But there's a speaker here and it's connected to those in the ceiling. So. No, I can't do anything about that one. I'm gonna unplug it a minute and plug it right back up, but I don't know. I'm trying to think of what else that would cut off. Nothing. A minute. Should, not gonna help. Not gonna help, but I don't think I lost anything on my computer. Might help. Do what? Still there, isn't it? Okay. All right, Brianna, it was number 2A. What was your answer?
Which one is 2A?
2A. That's 2, A part.
Okay, 1,000 or 1,064.
All right. Now your question was compute the plant wide predetermined overhead rate.
Okay, $15.20.
All right, that sounds right. But what you were trying to give me was the total overhead of 1,064. But that's adding your fixed overhead to your machine hours or to your verbal overhead to get total. Now, I had class in here at 9:30, did not do that. So I'm trying to think. I know I didn't. I hate to X out of everything, but I'm just wondering if I have it booted up twice, that one's overcoming the other one. I'm pretty sure I only booted it up once. I hate to X out of everything, but I'm just wondering if I have it booted up twice. It's possible, but I don't want to lose everything either. All right, now the rest of number 2 is just like we did with number 1. We apply the overhead rate and get $76 overhead, $476. And then, of course, the total cost, $476, marked up 200%. Now, if we base our overhead on hours, it's $15.42. If we base it on machine hours, it's $14.28. So which is the correct overhead? The company has to decide which overhead is more correct. When they go through actual overhead, that's when they'll know which one is probably more correct. But now, C part to this problem, or 3 part, assume the right about the machine hours. If the company continues to use direct labor hours on its only overhead cost allocation, what implications does this have? Job's going to be priced too high, isn't it? Okay, on C part, simply we can read it there. The price for job 550 using direct labor hours is $114 higher than the price to arrive using machine hours. If machine hours is a better choice, and if they continue to use direct labor hours, it will overprice jobs that are intensive users of direct labor hours and non-intensive use of machine hours. But now when you bid, you might lose bids on jobs like this. If you overbid, somebody else is going to underbid. So you need to get the correct, all right, overhead if you can. Our president just came up with a trade agreement with Mexico. It used to be with Canada and Mexico, and they used to call it the North American Trade Agreement. But Trump, that was trilateral, whatever, I guess. But now it's going to be just with Mexico, and then he'll do another one just with Canada. But they were talking about all these automobile production. If the car was produced in North America, 75% of the parts, I think, had to be, and they had to be done by workers making $16 an hour or more. So again, that may help labor, that may help unemployment, and so forth. And he may come up with something similar with China. Then he has to come up with one with the European Union. And the hardest one's going to be coming up with China. But these are all manufacturing companies, these trade agreements, unless it's farm, ag product. Okay? All right, and we had problem 17, which is sort of similar, just to get you used to these overhead rates. Plant-wide and departmental predetermined overhead rates. Your first question is, if Wilmington uses a plant-wide predetermined overhead rate based on direct labor hours, how much manufacturing overhead would be applied to job Bravo, I suppose? Okay, how much overhead goes into that one job? Okay, Adam, do you have any luck with that one?
This one, 17,
17, part one.
19 or 17 I'm sorry.
Yeah,
1750.
How much?
1750.
Okay. Now, the predetermined overhead rate is your overhead, your hours divided, you simply get 1750. But now, the rest of the question is, how much overhead did you apply? You work 14 direct labor hours times 1750 is 245. Yeah, I figured you had that one if you had the first one. Okay, and then B part, if they use departmental predetermined overhead rates for direct labor hours as the base, and the assembly and machine hours, you're using two different bases. All right, does Samuel here? Samuel, you have anything on that one? All right. Total is how much? All right, we'll just go down to the total. Say 180? All right, let's back up. Look at it individually, I suppose, first. Okay, number two, we had to find one rate at $12 per machine, direct labor hour. We had to find another rate of $8 per machine hour. Then we had to apply that to assembly and to fabrication. And when Samuel added those together of 132 and 48, he got 180. Is that correct? All right. He got 180, but if you only use one method, you got 245. If you just use direct labor hours. But we departmentalized it. We got 132 and 48 made 180. Again, this is less overhead. The company has to decide which one is best for their use. Okay. And then number 19. Number 19 on page, I guess, 93. Your information is given to you again. Compute the predetermined overhead rate used in the molding department and in the painting department. Now, for job order or for process, we'll get to process later. But they both can use departments, molding department, painting department. If it's for a specific job, or if it were for a process. All right, do you have any answer on that one? Mark, you have anything on that one?
Yeah. 12.25 for direct labor hour.
All right, do you have $12.25 per hour?
Yeah, that's the.
All right. Okay. Wait a minute now. Something went wrong there. Is that 18? I wanted 19. Now just say, okay, did you say 12 something an hour?
12.25.
All right. Now let's see. First off, All right. God, that's when I do an update in the middle. Now, when that green box popped up there, it makes me feel like that green box is on there twice. That's why it's echoed. But now, oh, I thought it quit, but it hasn't. So I should have X'd that green box out instead of minimizing it, but I'm still afraid to cut everything off. Okay, 19 part 1 now. You got 12.25 an hour. Now, 8.60 an hour, for the machine hour. Direct labor hour, 12.25 an hour. And all right, 110 machine hours, 84 direct labor hours, total 1975. So how much does this job cost us? All right, $2,102 for labor, $19.95. For materials, $19.95 for labor. Overhead, $19.75. That's $6,072. Now, if you got 50 units, you got $121.44 a unit. Okay. Now, David, he's around here. I saw him around here this morning. He makes that furniture out of logs. And I know he knows the price of materials. If he makes a bed or a whole bedroom suit or even living room furniture, he knows how much material he has. I don't know if he's figuring all of his overhead in there or not, but his labor is his profit because he is the labor. So his labor, whatever he makes, is his profit. He may make more per hour on one job than he does another, just like you do. You make more per hour on one job than you do another. But do you go work by the hour or do you give a bid? You go give a bid. Okay. And I believe you said before, sometimes when you do a bid, have you lost money? One time. Why was that? Why did you lose on that bid? Did the materials go up or what happened?
It took a lot longer than expected.
Took a lot longer too.
Yeah.
So you didn't average $1 an hour?
It was pretty low.
It was low. I'm assuming you still make money on it, but you made very little for your labor. And your labor per hour didn't come out to be very good. All right, so that happens with a bid. So sometimes they may average $15 an hour, maybe even 20, maybe more. But if you get under minimum wage in West Virginia, you gave a bad bid, right? Okay. So anyhow, the rest of this problem.
Love you, bro.
See ya. Okay, number 20. But pretty sure most of these young men are upset, and Anthony probably couldn't sit here and concentrate on class, which is understandable. Okay, number 20, more of the same. And this is a plant-wide versus multiple predetermined overhead rates. And once you went through these 3 problems or 4 problems, there's no way that you can not understand an overhead rate. No way that you can't understand it can be based on machine hours, direct labor hours, or direct labor cost. And there's no way that you can't see the importance of it. All right? It's like talking to Mark and bidding on jobs that he does. overhead is important. But now, he's looking at just his materials. And then he's just looking, how much can I make myself per hour, because I'm the labor. Okay? Now, if he wanted to pay himself $15 an hour, figure that in his labor, and figure in his overhead and his cost of material, then you do have a loss. If he's worth 15 an hour and he only makes 10 an hour, he had a loss of 5 an hour. Okay? And if he made enough to average $20 an hour, he had pretty good profit above and beyond his labor, materials, and overhead. But your overhead, you do have to have gas to drive there. You do have to have your tools. And sometimes you use your own supplies problem and different things like that. So you use your own grease and oil and so on. And if your vehicle was used full-time in your business, there would be depreciation on your vehicle and insurance, or maybe interest expense and all that. So you figure in some overhead with your materials now when you give a bid for a job. All right. Because if you don't, then you can end up making less per hour than you're worth. Overhead with your materials now when you give a bid for a job. Okay, number 20. Let's see if anybody has anything on it. Okay, Anna, do you have anything on number 20, dear? A is, what was that, a predetermined overhead rate? All right, well now, number 1A, I guess we had to figure out our estimated fixed overhead, our estimated variable overhead, and you could use the equation. Did you get 970? Okay. So after all of that, with the estimated overhead cost and your patient days, now there might be a couple of nursing students, not nursing, but who is in the health service management? Okay, a couple of you, and I think Miss Hightower and so forth. So it's wanting you to see that even in the health service management, you can apply some of these concepts to the operating room, the delivery room, ER. You can apply some of these same concepts to hospitals. All right, now, what were they applying this to? What part of the hospital? Jobs to its patients. They're just assigning costs to the patients. Materials, labor, and overhead per patient, okay? All right, so what's important is $970 per patient day. All right. Now, this is just for overhead. We know you can't stay in the hospital for $970 just for the overhead. When they put the doctor visits in there, and when they put those materials in there, like an aspirin is $5, a Band-Aid may be $8, so they get good money out of the materials, okay? And if a doctor walks in your room and he just refers somebody else to come and check on you, I'm sure if a doctor walks in your room and says hello, that's $500. So, so labor and materials in a hospital are high. All right, to continue on this one and not to pick on anybody else, It looks like patient A was $43,080 and patient B was $62,000. Direct materials, you can see what that was for the patient, but you can see the labor is $25,000 and $36,000. And you can see that overhead applied of 970 for 14 patient days and then for 21 days. But now this is for 14 days, and that's probably cheap. And this is for 21 days. But now, if you have any kind of an operation in a hospital, it might take 2 hours, $120,000 maybe. Depends. So you can see now, even though materials are high and overhead's high, you can see what most of your hospital bill is, labor. All right, we're going to skip down to 2A. That was estimated at $3,672,000. That was your fixed overhead plus your variable. And your rate here is 1,836 per day. If you calculate this way, it's 873. And then if we apply that, this is also for 14 days. The bill went down to 41,000. The bill went up to 47. However, we're applying that. Applying it a different way, one patient's bill would go down and one patient's bill would go up. Don't know why I keep getting that message. One patient's bill will go up. All right, keep that homework. This homework on chapter 2, you'll add it with chapter 3, and I'll take it up before you on test day. I will take up homework on test day. Don't have to, except like an Excel problem. Or I may pick a problem that I will take up for bonus only on that day. If you got it on that day, it would be a bonus. But keep the problem, chapter 2 and chapter 3, give them to me on test day. Give me the Excel problem on Thursday. That's all that's due. And I hope this live stream is working out and you only get my voice one time instead of twice. All right. Now we're going to start looking at chapter 3 a little bit. Now there's some appendix here. I will not go back and cover these appendix unless I think it's necessary. So we're going straight to chapter 3. Now, got a few minutes on chapter 3. So obviously, read chapter 3 for Thursday. That would be your new assignment. And all right, you will have that Excel problem also assigned in chapter 3. It will not be due Thursday. It will be next Tuesday. Thursday, I would like for you to start looking at a couple of exercises. These will not be taken up anytime. Look at the first 5 exercises, but I'll never take those up. But try to work them if you have time. Now, chapter 3 is journal entries. If you learn journal entries for managerial, then you have to take cost accounting into Springer the same. Don't have to learn them again. But journal entries for managerial is that flow chart that I gave you one day. Okay? All right, we got materials, labor, and overhead. We're gonna make journal entries to account for those. They go to work in process. We're gonna make journal entries for that. This goes to finished goods. Anyway, it's still there somewhere, just playing with me today. All right. Now we will take it from there down to cost of goods sold and sales. So if we learn the journal entry connected with those 4 items, you got all the journal entries. Now, if you buy materials, guess what you debit? You debit materials. Now, this is also where you get 1, 2, 3 inventories on your balance sheet. But if you buy materials, you debit materials, and you credit accounts payable or cash or whatever. Now, if it's going from materials to work in process, you debit one, credit the other. So you must debit work in process and credit materials. If it goes to finished goods, you must debit finished goods and credit work in process. Put it in one, get it out the other. If it goes from finished goods to cost of goods sold, you debit cost of goods sold and credit inventory. And then, of course, you debit accounts receivable and credit sales. That's why I put 2 items on there. Okay, we do the same thing for labor. We do the same thing for overhead. So let's scan your book just for 5 minutes. Look at page 112. All right, I think everybody in here has a book today except one. All right, at the bottom of page 112, debit materials, credit, accounts payable. On page 113, debit work in process and credit materials. But now, if it's miscellaneous items, if it's small items, you would debit. Some of those materials would be factory overhead. That's actual overhead. Now we're getting into actual overhead. Okay. Now, some companies keep separate accounts for materials, which they consider overhead, and for direct materials. But here they're all in the same. So when you debit work in process, that's direct materials. And when you debit manufacturing overhead, that's indirect materials. That's all you do for materials. Buy, issue it to the factory. Some foreman or superintendent in the factory will requisition what materials he needs. All right. Now labor. Look at page 114. You debit work in process for direct labor. You debit manufacturing overhead for indirect labor, and you credit salaries and wages payable. But you're putting labor now into work in process and some overhead. Now on page 115, you got miscellaneous overhead items. You've got, I guess you got some property taxes payable, prepaid insurance, accumulated depreciation. Now you see, every expense in a factory goes into manufacturing overhead. Even depreciation. You don't debit depreciation expense. You debit manufacturing overhead. You don't debit rent expense. You debit manufacturing overhead. You don't debit tax expense. You debit manufacturing overhead. In a way, it's easy. You put everything in manufacturing overhead. Okay? All right, applying the manufacturing overhead. Now, chapter 2 is applying manufacturing overhead. So how do we put overhead into the factory? We debit work in process and credit manufacturing overhead for the rate. Now, if I can get my notepad, I have no idea.
I have a question.
Yeah,
When we record the depreciation of the equipment, do we ever record depreciation expense? We never recorded it.
never.
Never.
No. You debit factory overhead, credit accumulated. All right. But if this were manufacturing overhead here, if you turn back a page, how much manufacturing overhead did we put into, how much was material? Let's go back and trace down our overhead. Was that 2,000 materials? All right, indirect materials, 2,000. Now on this page, we had indirect labor of 15,000, right? Now on the next page, we had accounts payable for 40,000. And we had property tax and insurance expense, 20,000. These are your real overhead expenses. And then you had accumulated depreciation, 18,000. And what does that add up to be? Somebody add that. This is 18. 18, 2 is 20. 46, 80. Is that 95? 95?
I think so.
And how much did we apply here? We credit overhead for how much? All right, this is actual. All right, and this is applied. Okay, now we're going to be 5,000 under applied. We could underbid this job. Because we were applying overhead of 90, but our real overhead was 95. Okay. All right, we'll get rid of that later. But now look at page 118. Now we ship it to finished goods, debit and credit work in process. Bottom of the page. Debit accounts receivable, credit sales, debit cost of goods sold, and credit finished goods. Look at the wrap-up page on page 119. That's the only journal entries you pretty much have to know in job order. When we get to work in process, same journal entries. But we may have department A, B, C, or molding and bending and welding and painting or whatever departments. Okay, you got your homework, read chapter 3. Practice first 5 exercises. Be working on Excel for next Tuesday.
What is the homework again?
All right. Giorgio, whoa. Read chapter 3. I don't know what I said.
Oh, that's just reading?
Yeah. Chapter 3, read. Exercises 1 to 5. I will not take up some of the old man Excel problem that you should have gave me today. And you can be working on an Excel problem for next Tuesday, and we'll call it a day.
Have a good day.
Y'all too. There's so many things